Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Rockwood number 95A-626 satin chrome plated brass flush pole. This is a flush pole from Rockwood. This is the number 95A. This is in 626 finish. This is going to be available in a 10BE finish, which would be a oil rubbed bronze equivalent. It's a powder coated dark brown color that would be complementary to dark bronze, or to oil rubbed bronze. Speaking of oil rubbed bronze, it's in the original 613 oil rubbed bronze as well. 605 for polished chrome, 606 for satin chrome, 612 for satin bronze, 625 for polished chrome, and 626 for satin chrome. A nice, petite, small flush pole that will allow you to slide, pull open a small door, a door with a relatively small footprint. Don't mean to say it would work only in a small door. It wouldn't. I've seen these installed in 3080 doors, and people like them because they're petite. They're elegant in that regard. They don't overtake the walnut veneer that's on the door, detract away from the overall look. Does the job without focusing attention on it specifically. Okay, very easy to install. Relatively, I suppose, easy to install. Installation of this would be best with a router, frankly. You would want to ideally you'd use a router, and you'd use a template that you'd have clamped down to the door, and you would drop your plunge router in, and you would work that hole until it was perfect. Maybe square out the corners depending on how tight your prep was. Install that down. You don't want it overly large. You'd want to have the prep basically require that you square the corners out, because you're going to run a screw. You can see it here and then down here. You can see it evidenced on either side. The screws are included in that same black finish that will be what's on the inside of the cup. And you don't want that screw to reach a long distance into a void pass through a void before it hits any wood. And quite frankly, you're going to want to probably have the if you know that you're going to have the doors manufactured for this hardwood, would be best that if it was reinforced for it, actually, because screwing this material into particle board would not be the best option if there were other options, the bottom line. Or order the doors prepped for them and then order them reinforced for them as well. There is a link, since we're talking about installation, to the document called Template that will give you the recommended mortise that Rockwood says you should have. 2 13/16 height. I would say that would be ideal, with an 1 3/4 width. Again, I'd say that'd be ideal. About 1/8 of an inch all the way around. They're going to need you to square those corners out to get that fit down there. Okay. It has an overall size of 3 1/4 tall, indeed, by 2 3/16 wide. Is correct as well. We'll have a mortise depth requirement of 3/4 inch. I'd say that would be more than adequate. I'd say that'd be far more than adequate. I wouldn't prep that deep unnecessarily. Okay, I'd be at 11/16, not more, with an overall of about 11/16. So the template is handy. I've mortised for these countless times, and again, I would use a template and a plunge router. I would also take an audit of the rest of the doors in the space, so that I knew that I was prepping a height from the floor to the center, or however you'll measure it, top down to the center, that was compatible with everything else. I'd want to be compatible if you have a hallway where you've got a series of doors, but then you've got a closet door on one side or on both for office storage material. You're going to want to make sure that line of sight is consistent down the hallway. It's one of those things that comes up after you've machined it, that it didn't look exactly the way it should be. Commercial applications are generally from the floor a little bit higher than residential applications. Generally about 40 inch to the center from the floor for commercial, sometimes about 36 for residential applications. The fact that it's not handicap compliant, you wouldn't have to therefore adhere to a handicap height, but you might have other doors that are handicap compliant within the space that this height would be best put at as well. There is a link below this video to the product brochure that will allow you to review the diversity of flush poles from Rockwood, but also some other poles, cylinder poles, combination push-pull plates, flush poles of a variety of applications and sizes as well. They do have their handicap compliant 97L, that's in the very back end of the catalog, a very large space, width and height that would be compliant with handicap requirements. Nice catalog that you can review. Also, we'll mention the finishes that the material is available in, the size, the cutout size, things of that nature. A nice subsection so that you can review all of the items before you determine if the 95A is the one that you want. Admittedly, I would say possibly the 95B is more common, only because it's simply larger as a pole. Other than that, if it's handicap compliant, we'll sell that BF97L on the last page. Back-to-back sets are very common as well, because if you're doing a pocket door, having them mounted back-to-back would be a proper way to go so that they're literally through-bolted. So you might want to consider the 94P by 94L. But then these specialty units that you'll see, especially the 90 and the 91B on page 1, those are awfully nice little cylinder poles. If you have an exit device on the back of a restaurant and you don't want a lot of hardware sticking off the door, you can use that underneath that rim cylinder just as a basically almost a finger pole. That 91, 92, 93, the push-pull combination, you'll see those in hospitals all the time, even though they're not handicap compliant, etc. It's all fairly common, just some are more common than others. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Rockwood products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. If you have any questions on the Rockwood number 95A and a 626 finish, or any other Rockwood product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.